Well, hey, good morning, Facebook friends and family. Here we are again with another opportunity to experience the Word of God as we have been taking some time out going through some devotional messages on forgiveness as we're closing out this time of getting close to God. And we don't want things to be able to hinder us from getting close to God. One of the things is when we have unforgiveness in our heart, when we are living out of resentment, bitterness, and anger, and things of that nature, it can really serve as a barrier between us and God. And then, therefore, it defeats our whole purpose of trying to get closer unto Him. And so, here today, we're going to look at a passage that we recently looked at in really great detail, but just as a reminder that forgiveness is. Does not have limitations on it. Forgiveness does not It's unconditional. It does not have an amount. And here we're going to be able to look at it according to this passage right here in Matthew chapter 18, verses 21 and 22. And it reads likewise. It says, "And then Peter came up and said to him, Lord, how often will my brother sin against me and I forgive him? As many as 7 times? And Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 77 times." And so when we begin to think about this verse right here, these two verses, and when it comes down to forgiveness, we must be able to realize that forgiveness is a reflection of God's heart. God's heart is full of grace and mercy, and He has extended those things unto us. And then, therefore, we ought to manage ourselves in the same way. Later on in this same discourse, Jesus tells and lets it be known that we must do more than just have a forgiveness that falls out of our mouth, but it must really take root in our heart. Forgiveness is a reflection of God's heart. When we think about how much He has forgiven us, how many times He has forgiven us, what is that one time that you've done been before God and you done said that you would never do that again, but yet you did it again? Jesus, isn't it good to be able to know that Jesus was not taking keeping record and keeping account. And so, because of that, we can know that forgiveness is not only a reflection of God's heart, but it is not limited. It does not have these human limitations on how much and how often and how given these restrictions and limitations. Peter thought he was being very gracious by saying 7, because it was in a tradition that after 3 times, it was like the 3 strikes you out. I'll forgive you once, forgive you twice, but forgive you 3 times. Anytime after that, I can cut you off. So Peter seems to be very, very um, sure and confident in his answer that he's talking about 7 times. And notice that one of the things I want to be able to point out when we look at it from some of the other not translation, but other encounters, that it may seem as if this was a one particular sin that someone would be doing constantly and continual, and that that Jesus is saying, look, not only I'm telling you to forgive this one sin time and time again, but also in the same day. I don't know about you, but to be able to count up that amount of sins like that, it really tells that you are really not forgiving from the heart as you are keeping those track of those things. And so, not only is forgiveness a reflection of God's heart, and not only does it not have any limitations, but that practice of it really practices humility and it shows love. It is so easy for us to be prideful when we are wronged. It is so easy for us to be angry and not display this type of love and care and consideration and thinking about someone else. But when we practice the true heart of forgiveness, we'll find ourselves being humble, and we'll find ourselves operating in the true measure of love. And last and surely not least, we see here this 77 times 7, or the 70 times 7, um, as this is gives shows us that love, or that forgiveness, is continual. It does move. You constantly are continually having a heart to forgive. And sometimes it does not always come along with immediate reconciliation, but we ought to always be ready to exhibit the true qualities of forgiveness. Forgiveness, it does not uh, um, it does not make them what they did right, but it frees us from the burden. It frees us from the weightiness that unforgiveness can have on our lives. And plus, it also opens up the great opportunity that we'll be able to exemplify the characteristics of God. And so when we just think about this, just let us remember that Jesus teaches that forgiveness should be a continual practice that demonstrates God's love and his mercy. And when we practice this quality of forgiveness, as Jesus has instructed, that we reflect his love and we grow closer to him. I pray that this has been a blessing and beneficial for you on today. May God bless you and may God keep you. That is my humble prayer.